This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Mike Irwin from Pig Trail Nation chose SEC Media Days week for his vacation. And honestly, Mike, it might be the right week to take vacation, man. You can just sort of just watch from afar and not have to talk about it all that much. So did you enjoy vacation, and did you find yourself itching to work during vacation?
Did enjoy it. Didn't have an itch to work. Was aware of what was going on at Media Days via my phone. I went there 16, 17 years. It's always the same thing, and Arkansas fans get mad because of things like Arkansas's picked fifth in the West, KJ's not all SEC first team. Guys, I would remind y'all that media poll is largely inaccurate every year. And the reason it is because 95% of those guys cover one team. That's what I did. When I went to Media Days, I didn't have time to watch those other press conferences and see what Nick Saban had. I was covering Arkansas. When I got all the stuff I needed, I had to go sit down and write stories and get ready to go on. So I think most of those guys don't really know. I think what you do when you cover one team is you learn about the other teams the week your team plays that team. I want to know about Alabama. I learned that week that Arkansas plays them. But preseason, I don't know that much about them right now, so I wouldn't worry about it. Polls, they do that stuff because people are interested, but it's largely inaccurate.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's more about what the end of the season poll. You know, who's the first team quarterback, your first team running back. It's pretty cool though. You know, to have All-American and Rocket Sanders. Mike, those first 3 games of the year, do you see any way that we don't start 3-0?
Well, probably they will. Here's what I'm looking at. And again, Media Days, everybody's looking for a funny angle. One of the reasons I used to get criticized because I would go there and I would say, look, I don't care what other people think. I'm there for the X's and O's because I like X's and O's. And the big X and O that came out of this thing was Sam Pittman talking about Travis Williams and when he hired him. And he said, I'm looking at all this video, and when he was UCF, man, it's blitz, 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 blitz. Looks great, sacking off. But every third or fourth time he did that, his cornerbacks get burned for a touchdown. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to do that. And when he talked to him, he said, Coach, that's in our league. You get to the SEC, I dial it back a little bit. Well, I'm interested in how much does he dial it back? Because in those first games, we're going to see a lot and probably a much different defensive approach. But what about A&M? What about Travis Williams versus Bobby Petrino? That is going to be a storyline. So I'm kind of sitting here right now already thinking about that.
And that, in the week before you get LSU and Jaden Daniels and what they're going to do. And so it comes fast and heavy.
Yeah, those are the things that look, you can't know when August camp starts. The first thing I'm looking at is, do you get injuries? What kind of injuries? Sam said last year he screwed up. He didn't have a single scrimmage in August camp. Now we're going to do that. Well, you always run the risk, if you scrimmage, of getting people hurt. So that's a big part of August, is getting through that without any big, serious type injuries that can affect the team. That's the first thing I'm looking for when it starts in a couple of weeks.
That is true, but Mike, we have to tackle better. We got to scrimmage some, and you can't be the first time we're going out there to tackle when September 2nd, because it was atrocious last year.
Well, then there's a fine line to try to walk here too, right? Like, you want this team to try to be more physical than any opponent that they play. You gotta, there's a little line to walk there as far, and I think that's what you're hitting at here, Mike. It's like you want to hit in camp. You want to have a physical practice, but you don't want to take it too far necessarily.
Well, remember last year when Pittman went into that thudding thing? Well, we thud, and it can simulate tackling. Okay, all right. I don't remember much about thudding 50 years ago when I played high school ball, but I get it. I understand what you're trying to do there, but you do have to tackle. You just do. Now, maybe one of the reasons he's willing to do that more this year is because he's got more depth. if you have depth issues, it's a lot harder to do those preseason scrimmages.
Well, and that's the feeling, is that there is more depth and more depth defensively. And all we needed to know is that they brought in 11. I mean, it's more than 11, but a full defensive unit. I've harped on that ever since the portal closed and they brought in all the numbers that they brought in. I think there is more depth there. There's more depth to have 4 down linemen and rotate in. There's more depth at cornerback, it feels. Maybe even a couple of guys that can cover one-on-one. I don't know if the depth was there defensively last year. You had some guys that rose in the ranks, but part of that was also that, Quincy McAdoo was forced to play secondary because you didn't have enough depth at that position. I feel like there is now, and maybe I'm just being hopeful about it. I don't know.
Well, that's where it started last year with all those injuries to in the secondary. And you turn around, there's been 5 or 6 of those guys that have missed at least parts of weeks or games or whatever early in the season, and you're going, they weren't all hurt at one time, but that really created a huge issue. And I really felt like as they adjusted and guys came back toward the end of the year, if you remember, played a really good game against LSU, played a good game against Ole Miss. They were playing well toward the end of the season. Didn't do that well against Missouri. I still don't know what's going on with Missouri, but I hope they got all the injuries out of the way. You have no injuries. You play a lot of guys. Defense is going to be better. The offense is going to be different. I want to see KJ adjust to his new role. Guys, can he really? He breaks loose. He's 8 yards downfield. He can get another 5 and go down, but he might knock a guy down and go for a touchdown. What does he do? Does he get bulldozed and hurt again, or does he know when to get out? That's a hard decision to make if you like to run.
Especially when you're a competitor, you're taught as an athlete to compete and go out there and man, I think we'll go as KJ goes. I mean, he's the leader that, kind of asked him what he thought he had improved on the most, and he said his leadership ability. So if he's got to be healthy and he's out there, I think the team has confidence when he's out there.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a really good year. But I like the fact that those 2 guys behind him are the same kind of quarterback.
Right. It doesn't change too much.
You're not going to something completely different if he gets hurt. So I think as they sit here right now, I like where they're at. But I just look at that schedule, and I'm going, whoa, man.
You got to have a receiver that can beat man coverage. You can't turn the ball over. Who is that going to be? Is that going to be Tesla? Is it going to be Satania? Who's the guy that when he's calling these run and pass plays and you get man out there, you can throw it out there to him? I don't know who that's going to be this year.
Well, and then there's all these road games early on. You don't really have a big. I was talking to one of these merchandising guys, and he's really depressed right now because he thinks sales are going to be down all through the month of September because you're not going to have big games with fans coming in here from all over the state and buying stuff because so much of those big SEC games are road games early on.
Well, the home schedule isn't really all that exciting, especially in the SEC, and it's nothing against it. It's just what it is. Mississippi State, Auburn, Missouri are your SEC home games, and look, you got to go undefeated at home, truthfully, and I expect Arkansas to win a couple of road games. I think they can win in Oxford. I think they can win in Gainesville this year. I think the rest of the media that voted Arkansas 5th, I think they expect Arkansas to go 0 on the road. And I also don't think that the media has much regard for the rebuilt defense or for the new coach for Williams, truthfully, because I think they have KJ listed as the second best quarterback, Rocket as one of the 2 best running backs, one of the better offensive linemen in the league in Bo Limmer, one guy defensively that they picked on the second team, McLaughlin, and that's it. I don't think the media expect that this is a very deep team.
Well, again, guys, what they typically do is they're aware of certain players, and then beyond that, they don't have a lot of knowledge because they're covering other teams. And this is where a lot of these picks go wrong. And, again, it's why I never participated in that. It wasn't that I was arrogant. I just didn't feel qualified. I don't know that much about these other teams in the preseason. I'll find out later on. So, again, we know what's we know what's different about this team, and it's exciting. The only reservations I have is the schedule is tough with all those road games. We'll see how they play on the road. But I just think Sam Pittman went into the offseason, made some coaching staff changes because he had to, did a really good job with his hires. I like the Enos hire, and I just think I'm expecting a really different kind of team this year.
Hey, Mike, before we let you go, there was other news last week coming from the basketball team about Keon Menefield redshirting, a non-scholarship redshirt for the Razorbacks after transferring in from Washington. It's a little bit of a head scratcher, and I don't know the situation going on there. It feels like there's a lot of depth on the basketball roster, but this came out as a bit of a surprise. I mean, this is somebody in Menefield that scored 20 points or more. I think 2 handfuls of times last year, and felt like he could have been a real contributor this next season. Not to say he won't be in the future; he just won't be this next year.
Yeah, that happened when I was gone, and I haven't started checking on that yet. I did read. I mean, I look at so much on the internet, and there was a photo from practice of some guy in the background, and they said he's the guy, and they named him off. I don't remember who he was. You ask yourself, is there an academic issue here that maybe they wanted him to just concentrate on his schoolwork for a year? Maybe they felt like they were guard heavy this year, would need him next year. There's so many things, and when you do what I do, you get back home after you've been gone for a week, start calling people up on the phone and go, what's this all about? But I haven't done that yet. I just got back last night.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.